Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Simplify and Save with ResNexus Payments. In this presentation, we'll briefly go over credit card processing and how it works, followed by an explanation of ResNexus Payments and why it benefits your business to switch. And then at the end, I will demonstrate how you can get set up, and we'll also have time for a Q&A. But first, here's a little about me. My name is Gavin Wadsworth. I'm a hospitality researcher and content writer for ResNexus, and I am pleased to be presenting for you today in this last webinar of the year. Thanks so much for attending, and I hope you get a lot of value out of this webinar. So before we get into ResNexus Payments, let's quickly go over credit card processing in a nutshell so you have a bit of context. For a more in-depth explanation of the processes that go into credit card processing, you can take a look at our recent webinar all about it. So this is going to be a much more brief breakdown than what's shown in that other webinar. And the purpose of this is to illustrate how complex the world of credit card processing is and where ResNexus Payments fits in. So the journey starts when a customer initiates a credit card transaction in person or online. The card information is then sent to the payment processor or gateway, who encrypts the credit card details and cardholder information. The data is then sent to the acquiring processor, who identifies the card network the card belongs to. So that's MasterCard, Visa, Discover, etc. And the acquiring processor then connects with that card network. From there, the card network determines the issuing bank associated with the card and routes the transaction to the affiliated issuer processor, who then validates it for fraud prevention. The issuer processor then sends an approval request to the issuing bank itself, and then the issuing bank verifies the cardholder's credit and responds with approval if sufficient funds are available. Then, that approval response works its way all the way back through the chain, through the card network, the acquiring processor, the gateway, and finally to the merchant and customer, where they find out whether the transaction was approved or not. But even after all of this, you actually haven't been paid yet. The transaction has simply been approved. There's an entirely separate process that occurs every business day where the gateway submits a batch of approved authorizations to the acquirer processor, and all the transactions get sorted and subdivided and settled in a number of other steps. That's why it usually takes at least a day for funds to actually appear in your account. Now, even this is a simplification, but ResNexus Payments is here. So in terms of the chain of payment transactions, we are the closest to you, the merchant, apart from the customer. We provide that connection between the banks and the card networks. The reason it's so complicated and why there are so many fees is because all of these various entities have built sections of this payment processing highway. But they didn't do it for free, so you have to pay the toll to use it. And just as tolls cover highway usage, fees compensate entities for facilitating secure credit card transactions. So with that out of the way, let's talk about ResNexus Payments. ResNexus Payments is a payment processor with a flat rate pricing model similar to services like Stripe and Square. One of the main differences is that ResNexus Payments is integrated directly into your ResNexus account. So let's get started by looking at pricing. Like I said, ResNexus Payments uses a flat rate pricing model. That means you can reliably see a credit card processing charge of, in this case, 2.9% plus 30 cents for transactions. Because of this flat rate pricing, you can enjoy the same rate regardless of the card type. So that means you're getting the same low cost for Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and yes, even American Express. Many businesses who use a different pricing model for payment processing choose not to accept American Express cards because of the high processing costs involved. That means they're turning away customers who use those cards. But with ResNexus Payments, you can enjoy the same competitive rate regardless of card type, so you don't have to turn away paying customers. A 2.9% fixed rate for American Express is a fantastic deal, so you can accept those cards without breaking the bank. Now, in the interest of transparency, I will mention that there do exist rare exceptions to this flat rate pricing model. Just this year, the way that interchange fees, one of the major fees associated with credit card processing, the way they're calculated by the card networks was changed. It's very complicated, so I won't go into great detail, but suffice to say that certain transactions using high rewards corporate cards are being placed in a more expensive interchange bracket by the card networks. The result of all this is that payment processors like ResNexus Payments, and many others including Stripe and Square, simply cannot afford to offer the same flat rate for these high rewards transactions. So what that means is that your fee for these unique transactions could be higher than the flat rate. Now, like I said, these transactions are very rare, and this is also universal across payment processors. It's not just ResNexus Payments. For the vast majority of transactions, you can enjoy our low flat rate of 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. And in fact, we've had hardly any cases at all of dealing with these increased rates for any of our clients of ResNexus Payments to date. Alright, so I've talked about our competitive flat rate pricing model. But if your current payment processor gives you a lower rate, in most cases, we can match your current interest rate based on 6 months of statements. You can reach out to ResNexus for a cost savings analysis on our Get Started page on our website to see how we can help you out. One important thing to note about rate match is we match your net effective rate. In other words, the rate you're actually getting from your processor. Your stated rate is the rate you think you're paying. Your net effective rate is the true rate you're actually paying, taking into account additional costs and fees. So a processor might advertise that they provide 2.6% plus 30 cents per transaction. But when you look at the breakdown of costs and fees, you come to find out it ends up being much more expensive than it looks at first glance. In many cases, ResNexus Payments might already be a better deal than the net effective rate. So other processors might give you that stated rate to make it seem like you're getting a fantastic deal. With ResNexus Payments, we are transparent with your rate. And we can also help you determine your current net effective rate with your current processor. So you can figure out what rate you're actually getting, even if you don't end up going with ResNexus Payments moving forward. Here, a customer thought they were getting 2.2% because that's what they were quoted. 2.2% of 20,000 is about 450, so that adds up. But once you add in all the additional fees, it turns out to be closer to 2.97% in this particular month because of all these other charges and fees. Processors are notorious for these kinds of hidden fees. They advertise 2.2%, but are not highlighting all the other charges and fees that come with it. So people think they're getting a great deal without looking too closely at the details. So that's where we can come in and analyze your statements to find out your net effective rate. And in this case, we were actually able to offer this customer a better deal, even though the percentage appeared to be higher than the 2.2% they were originally quoted. So apart from our low fixed price, what are some other reasons to switch to ResNexus Payments? Convenience is a major one. ResNexus Payments provides built-in reporting, which you can access directly from within your ResNexus account. That means one fewer account and login you have to keep track of, and you can quickly check in on your payment processing whenever you need with our built-in reports. You can easily generate and download statements for your credit card transactions. Now here, you can see the 2.9% plus 30 cents processing fees across the board, even for Amex. Another reason to switch is that ResNexus is PCI compliant and adheres to the highest level of security measures required by Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover, ensuring that your guest's information is stored securely and safely. We also undergo an external audit at the end of every year to ensure full compliance to data security standards. So you can rest easy knowing that your transactions are secure through ResNexus. We also encourage our clients to maintain PCI compliance on your end. ResNexus Payments can provide and connect you with a PCI vendor services to you, the merchant, so you can ensure your individual merchant account is PCI compliant as well. Because even if ResNexus Payments is as secure as possible, we can't control whether your staff is writing down credit card numbers on sticky notes. And finally, there's our industry-leading customer support. If you need help or encounter an issue, we are ready and able to help you resolve it, just the same as if you need help with your ResNexus software. Now, setting up ResNexus Payments is pretty straightforward, and you can do it right from your back office. First, go to Settings and navigate to the Credit Card Processing button, either by scrolling to find it or by typing it in the search bar. After you click that button, you'll find the ResNexus Payment sign-up page. Click the blue Sign Up button to get started. You'll find a step-by-step process to complete in order to submit your application, but it shouldn't take more than a few minutes. It's pretty easy to do, however, you will need to provide a few verification documents towards the end. One for your business, one for your identity, and one for your bank. Then, all you have to do is submit the application, and we'll take care of the rest, and in most cases, you should be set up same day or up to 2 days later. And it's as simple as that. Now, for a quick recap on how ResNexus Payments can help your business. So, save money, we offer a fixed rate pricing model at 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, and we also offer rate match with 6 months of statements. And as part of that, we can help you find the actual rate you're getting from your current processor. You can also save time with built-in reporting and integration with your booking engine. And finally, you can save hassle by working with ResNexus for your support, as well as simplified payments. And finally, you can always contact your ResNexus support representative with any questions you may have. We're happy to help you walk through this and figure out your best option, even if you don't end up using ResNexus Payments. Take this opportunity to start the new year by saving money and give yourself a great start to the season. Alright, we've come to the end. I'll get to the Q&A in just a moment, so feel free to start dropping your questions into the questions field. In the meantime, I'd like to say that if you enjoyed this webinar and would like to view any of our past ones, you can do so by going to our website, resnexus.com. When you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a Webinars button, which will take you to our entire library of past webinars. You can also register for upcoming webinars on this page. Alright, and now I've come to the Q&A portion. I'm actually also going to drop a link into the chat, which you can click to immediately go and begin the sign-up process for ResNexus Payments. It should link right into your own back office, so we made it as easy as possible for you. And with that, let's go ahead and see if we have any questions. All right, and I also have Amy on here to help me out with questions. So I'll probably field them to her, and she'll try and get those answered for you. We'll try and get those out as best as we can. One thing I forgot to mention about the link I just put in the chat is that it will only work if you are a ResNexus subscriber, but if you click it, it should go right into your back office. Okay, we have a question. Let's see. We have a question. Do you offer terminals for swiped transactions?
Yeah, we do offer terminals. There's two different terminals that we offer with ResNexus Payments. We have one that is called a P2 Mini. It's about the same size as your cell phone, and you can tap. It also offers, because I know that a lot of properties have guests that come up and want to pay with like Google Pay or Apple Pay. It has that ability also. We also have a P2 Pro, which allows for the ability to have a receipt printed for your guests, so you can hand them a receipt once you swipe that card.
Okay, great. We have another question. Is there any integration with QuickBooks?
So with ResNexus, we do integrate with QuickBooks. That does send over all of the it sends over all the transactions that happen for the day. You can actually find that in ResNexus under reports and journal entries, and you can see what all gets sent over there. There is a way to kind of categorize your different transactions, your categories that go over to QuickBooks, but everything's set up right there in that journal entries report.
Awesome. We got a lot of questions on here, a lot of engagement. Another one is, can you speak about chargebacks and how that will work?
So yeah, what happens with chargebacks is we get notified of a chargeback. Um, you there's a link that gets sent. It talks to you about what guest that is. You just go ahead and upload your policies if you have any signatures. So on ResNexus, you have the ability to have the guest do an electronic signature right there, whether they're checking in, um, doing the phone reservation, doing an online reservation, being able to sign those policies. So you just take your policies and that copy of that signature, upload that, and get that sent over to the process to us through that secure link, and then we go and try to do that chargeback for you.
All right, another one. Are there any hardware changes or upgrades? Not.
So with that, you just have those P2 terminals. Other than that, there's nothing else. I have a lot of properties that also don't even use the terminals. They just go ahead and run everything through ResNexus um, in the back office. So you technically don't need the terminals, but if you want those terminals, those are available.
Excellent, thank you. Here's a fun one. How many live customers are on ResNexus Payments right now, roughly?
Roughly, we have about just over 1,500 properties on ResNexus Payments.
Another question, for the terminal, can it have a tip line, such as, for example, use at a small bar?
Um, at this time, no, but we are working at getting something like that put into the system. So on the terminals themselves, no, but we are programming something for that. There is a way to do that in the back office if you wanted to do a tip. Um, there is a way to do that in the back office. You could just talk to your red carpet professional and they'll go over how to get that set up for you.
All right, we've got a bit of a technical question here. Let's see if we can figure it out. Back to QuickBooks. If two reservation payments are made, is there a distinction made when the transaction hits QuickBooks? Are they separate or combined? Can they be keyed so that it comes in as payment for venue A or venue B?
Right now, it comes in as one lump sum. So if it comes in as like a Visa and you have two Visa payments, those will just both come in together and combined. I don't have a way of separating them out except for so let's say that they're in unit A. You can say for that revenue for unit A, there is a way in ResNexus currently to go down and put in a QuickBooks category. So for your, I've drawn a blank on the real name of it, but for your QuickBooks account name, there's a place in your unit section to actually put venue A, and in venue B, put venue B. So the revenue would go over into those venues, if you will. The payments themselves would go in as one lump sum, if that answers that question.
All right, we have another question. After switching over to ResNexus Payments, will it be clear in reports and QuickBooks what comes from the old payment processor versus ResNexus Payments?
In ResNexus, there is a couple different ways to look at that. There are a couple different reports. In the main payments report, it's just going to show just normal payments. So that's nothing there is going to change. There is a couple of reports that will show which payments came from ResNexus Payments and which ones, and then there will be the other ones that won't show up in the other report. So there is a way that way to distinguish which ones are coming from ResNexus Payments and which ones are coming from the old payment processor.
Okay,
But in like
great.
the payment summary, it's going to be the same.
Okay. Looks like the questions are slowing down. I'll keep it open for another few minutes to see if any more come in. In the meantime, I'd like to say thanks to everyone for taking the time out of your day to come and learn more about ResNexus Payments. And once again, the link to get started, if you are a ResNexus subscriber, is just right in chat. So if you click that, it should take you right to the credit card processing setting. All right, we have a follow-up question from the QuickBooks question about whether they're separate or combined. The question is basically uh, so the payment would be flagged in QuickBooks like X dollars for A and Y dollars for B.
In the revenue, it would be, yes. In where the credit cards themselves, so in the revenue, you could have unit A, unit B. In the other side where it actually comes in saying Visa would say combined amount of money. If it's easier, I can also reach out to you specifically and kind of go over a little bit more. And it might be easier to pull up ResNexus and go over that exact scenario inside the journal entries report.
Yeah, and yeah, we can reach out. I'll make sure that that is able to happen. And then yes, this webinar is recorded, so it will be available to view within a day or two at most. Perfect, thank you. All right, I believe we have come to the end of questions. So once again, thanks everyone so much, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.